And we are live. Thanks everyone for joining us on this Easter Sunday edition of the Texas Toast Live podcast. We don't have anyone live via satellite, but today I do have Chris to my right, your left, and the lovely and talented Mrs. Texas Toast is working the board. And Chris, have you just farted?
No, I'm all about safety gear this week.
Okay.
There were some incidents earlier in the shop, and I just want to be safe during this podcast.
I think I farted earlier today in the shop. Yeah.
My glasses are actually fogging up just like they do when I wear this stuff when we're working.
Yes, we can see that.
Yeah.
All right. That's enough of that shit. Because you know why though, Chris? Today's a very special day.
Zombie Jesus.
That's right. That's actually one of the reasons why it's a special day. But this is an extra special day because this is a topic that we've wanted to do for a long time. And one of the reasons that we're doing it today is we've noticed that the views of the live podcast have gone down. And I thought, well, why don't we have a really salacious topic that will enrage people on both sides? Anytime you can polarize people, I think that's a good thing. So today our topic is CNC versus old school machining tools. And I wish I could say that I don't have a dog in this hunt, but unfortunately I've made my opinions clear on this kind of thing a lot in the past, and I've even acquiesced quite a bit in the last several years. But yeah, and I really don't care anymore. But there was a time when I used to, and so everyone thinks that, you know, I do or don't hate something, and so we're going to talk about that. We won't put anything to rest today. We're not going to change anyone's minds, but we're going to talk about it. And so let's see. We got a handful of people have already tuned in. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We're going to give everyone just a few more minutes to join us if they are. Mrs. Texas Toast said they might be doing Easter stuff. Right?
Easters.
Don't you know?
I haven't had any candy since Easter's.
It's last Easter. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Looks like we got Carl and Goslin and Jeffrey and Joel. And I feel like on what was that show where they would wish you happy birthday through the magic
Romper
screen?
Room.
Romper Room. That's right. We got PJ, right? Thanks for joining us, everybody. Let's thank all of the people who watch and thank all of our Patreon members who make this this event possible. Because without Patreon support, we wouldn't have any of this cool stuff to talk into and listen to us talking, which is one of my favorite things in the entire world.
And if you're going to do a telethon, you should probably get a guest star. I realize Jerry Lewis isn't available anymore. But
well, thank you. That's very helpful. Okay. So, so Chris, I don't even know how you want to even start this this live podcast, because we got an hour to talk about this. You know what I mean? So what you got anything you want me to just go for a while?
Well, Wayne Ranson says, "Hey guys, pin router all the way, Matt."
Pin router for the win. There was a time when I used to say things like CNC isn't as good as this, that, or the other, or using old school tools is better than CNC. And one of the things that Chris and I discovered after doing this for however many years we've been doing it is that no one cares. Whoever's actually buying the guitar, no one gives a crap how the guitar is made, whether it's made by a guy working a machine or whether it's by a machine working a machine. Now, the other thing to get to the let's get this right out in the open first of all, because I know what's going to happen. Some guy's going to go, "Hey, it doesn't just spit out a guitar when you put it through the machine." Yeah, no one suggested that you put it in a magic guitar making machine, raw lumber, and on the other side comes a guitar ready to go. That's the kind of internet tough talk and bullshit that I hate, and that's not why we're here today. So looks like we got a lot of comments so far, but let's talk a little bit about some of the things that I don't know. Let's just go with it. Well, you got anything? Let's start.
Why don't you talk about why you like doing it the way we do it?
Okay.
Well, I would like to just interject something. I think when you bleed in the wood, it really increases the tone.
I think
Well,
so.
that's one thing that people keep bringing up too is, well, CNC is a lot safer. It is, but driving over here is probably more dangerous than, or as dangerous as working in the shop.
Sure,
if
lots
I
of things
approach it properly. I mean, it's not. Are there opportunities to get hurt in the wood shop? Yeah. Are there opportunities getting hurt walking out to the shed?
Or hunting Easter eggs.
Or shoveling your walk. Yeah, there are. So if you're scared of the tools, then yeah, I guess.
So let's start with, what's the difference when you start with raw lumber? Now, so when we go to the lumber yard, let's just say for the sake of conversation, for this conversation, that we had a CNC machine. We would still need to go purchase lumber, or we'd have to have lumber delivered. And generally speaking, we would have to size that. Now, I would imagine there's a CNC machine that you can, send lumber through and it will size it, make it smaller. I don't know if there's a CNC glue jig, maybe. But none of the luthiers that I know have a CNC glue jig.
Yeah.
And let's also eliminate big companies like Fender, Gibson, and Paul Reed Smith, because those guys make more guitars in an hour than you and I make every year. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of reasons why they have CNC. And by the way, we're going to get to this. None of those, well, maybe in Paul Reed Smith's case, we'll get to that. But everybody that I know who has a CNC machine, they don't have an automatic gluing machine. So you would still need to start with lumber, and you need to size that lumber. You need to get it into a working condition, whether you're going to put it into your pin router, use your hand router, gnaw it with your teeth, or put it in your CNC machine. A lot of people tell me this thing where they're like, well, it just makes it does all the really hard stuff more accurately, and it does it safer, and it does it faster, and I can put it in the machine and I can go do something else while it's running, and it doesn't take a day off, and blah, 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 blah. And okay, cool. That's all my favorite shit. So why would I want a machine? For me, why would I want a machine to do all the stuff that I like to do, and then here's a bunch of sanding and that you get to do all the shit that I hate. That's why I have monkeys here to do all the shit that I don't want to do.
It's the race to your least favorite part.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
if you have a CNC machine, that's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I put the wood in and then I get to start sanding.
Okay, there's another thing that just popped into my head too, is that you and I don't have a CNC machine. So there's a lot of stuff about CNC that I don't know. So please, everybody, feel free to tell me how I'm wrong about CNC. One thing that I like to watch CNC lathes and CNC machines, because it's hypnotic. It's pretty neat to see that stuff.
So is hand sanding.
Ugh, not for me, it's not, but
it's very zen.
So you get your machine and you go for it. Now we were talking with Brian Nutter. Thanks for everyone for joining us last time with Brian Nutter. That was really fun. We'd like to get Brian back on. Chris and I were actually talking, one of our all-time favorite vacation ideas that we've ever come up with is going to work at Brian's shop for a couple days, or having him come to our shop and work. And I think Brian would probably agree to that. Anyway, so let's see.
So PJ writes, has a little bit of wisdom.
Okay.
And he says that working with my hands leads to knowledge.
I think that's absolutely true. Anytime you're working, you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter if it's CNC or the other way. And again, everybody, I don't have a dog in the hunt of, is CNC better or worse? Or one of the things that I started saying was that CNC isn't as sexy. And I'm like, surely nobody would take offense if I said that one thing was sexy. But I did. I remember I posted on Facebook, CNC tools aren't sexy. And I got a bunch of flack from people. Just for me thinking, my opinion on whether a tool is sexy or not. And I remember OD from OD Guitars comes up to me at the NAMM show and he's like, hey, just so you know, I shape all my necks by hand. Okay, cool, dude.
You should know that you're not allowed to voice your opinion these days.
I guess so, especially about something that's sexy. So I think that working with tools is fun, and and here come the tool jokes, by the way. But hand tools, yeah. And there's also that hyperbole on the internet. And again, tough internet talk and bullshit is not what this is about, but that always comes to it. Well, if you're not just scratching at the wood with your hand, then you're not really using hand tools. Fuck off and die if that's what you think, because we're not talking about that. So anyway, so Mrs. Chris, you want to add any of that stuff before we take for some comments?
Yeah. So you like putting your hands on the wood and putting it through the tool as opposed to letting a machine put it through the tool.
Yeah. It's what I'm into. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've also lined yourself up with some pretty hardy tools to be able to do all of the things that a CNC machine can do. And one of our favorite things is to come up with ways to do those things super accurately and
making jigs is really
relatively
fun
quickly. And for me, part of it is doing it kind of the way the old school factories did it. We use a lot of the same tooling that
some of the same
Gibson
tools
and Fender and all those guys did. And it's kind of fun to think back about those guys, you know, making guitar after guitar after guitar pretty darn accurately.
It's pretty unreal.
Yeah.
What they were able to do with
pretty
the stuff
fast.
That we have.
Yeah. And figuring out ways to do it and ways to do it better or ways to do it faster or ways to do it better and faster. And that's really fun for me personally versus, you know, learning how to computer program, which is not really my forte.
Yeah. And again, if that's what you're into, then rock on. I mean, that's, you know, then do CNC. I don't care. Just like I don't care if you think I should use a CNC and I don't now. We are doing the Flying V that we're doing for Vince Buckles at Mesa Kinetic Research is the fretboard that he wanted a special fretboard made. And so we're actually having the fretboard done by this cool guy, Russ, who Dan at Guitar Wood Experts gave us his name. And I'm hoping to have something to show you guys here pretty quick on that. He's doing it with a laser. He's making the inlay and he's cutting the fretboard with a laser. And so that's a super cool thing. I'm looking forward to that. You know, remember that video that the Ibanez Custom Shop made where they're making Steve Vai's whatever mahogany thing. The only CNC that they used in that shop was the inlay. For the inlay, and they actually sent that out. And
we stole a couple of ideas from that video.
We did steal a couple of ideas from that video. One of the cool things about CNC is the ability to turn out the same guitar over and over and over again rapidly. If you're making one, then CNC probably isn't the really hot setup. You need to be able to kind of, you know, kind of get in there and kind of make some CNC I'm sure is fine for prototyping if you're really into CNC, but for me, how many times have we seen guys put like, you know, hey, I'm making this body on my CNC and I'm making it out of, you know, some crappy wood, and it should be awesome, so why not use the good stuff right out of the bat? I don't know. I have no idea. So look, there's a ton of comments coming in. I think this is a good topic. How many people are watching the podcast there,
I don't know.
Texas?
I popped out the chat.
Okay.
But somebody said, Carl said earlier there was 29
cool.
viewers and only 9 thumbs up. And what the hell's the matter with all you guys? Put them thumbs up.
I put them thumbs.
Okay, well, first of all, Weenie Roller. We actually have a couple of viewers at home that were actually in 63 and 78, actually in the Romper Room live studio.
Oh, wow.
As children.
My dad tells
you were going to say
story.
Work for some guitar company, and it turned out to be they were in Romper Room.
I hope that somebody at a guitar company watches these, but the fact of the matter is that nobody at a guitar company gives a fuck what we're doing here. And that's okay. My dad used to tell a story about being on the Bozo show in the Chicagoland area, and some kid telling Bozo to fuck you, Bozo. Anyway. So are there any questions or comments that you feel like we need to address or at least hear? Thank you.
Yeah. Here's from Minx. Hey, Minx.
Hey, Minx. How are you? What time is it over there? 2 a.m?
It's probably nighttime.
Oh yeah, it's definitely yeah.
But I personally think that CNCs take the soul out of the instruments.
You know, I understand that
there's
sentiment.
No tone blood.
There's no tone blood. I understand the sentiment of that. The fact of the matter is, though, like we said, nobody really cares. You know what I mean? Excuse me. So it seems like the people who really care whether or not it's made by a CNC machine are people who don't use CNC. And that's okay. I hear you. I don't think it's quite as sexy as using hand tools. One of the things that Brian says is that what separates him from other guitar builders or other guitar building, boutique builders, is that he's the guy. He starts with the raw lumber, and he's the guy who puts strings on it and every single step in between. And that's cool. I think that's really neat. And if you're into that, then, then I don't know. I guess you can say I'm the guy who programs a CNC machine. I don't know. Yeah. What else you got? Sorry, I went on a rant there.
No, not you. Carl Ingram said the CNC is another tool. It's not a vintage tool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a great tool. Yeah. I mean, CNCs are really neat. So if you have one, go crazy.
Andrew St. Pierre, CNC is not sexy. Making a curve by hand is.
You got that right. It's funny though, how many people say, got mad when I said that CNC wasn't sexy. I thought this is something that surely this will be something like people will go, haha, Matt, you're funny. Or you're
like,
dumb.
What? You think you're sexy?
Exactly. Yeah. And, but they didn't. They actually got mad at me. And by the way, we got more paint on your guitar today too, Andrew. So that's cool.
Little off topic. Jeffrey Talmo asked, can you show that 58 Flying V you are working on?
I
can.
Tell
me where it is? Is it close?
Yeah, it's over that way. Chris might actually be.
Was that the white limbo one?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So Carrie Ann's gonna go and grab that. I'm not sure what it is that you want to see. Nothing's really happened to that in the last couple of days, but we can look at that.
Is that the Fernandez?
No, it's not. There's a neck blank for that one, but I don't know where it is at the moment. So let's just have a look at the body here. So there it is. Something that if you guys follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you'll know this already, but a couple of people have asked me why the neck joint on the Flying V is so little. And the fact of the matter is it's positively titanic, especially compared to, like, say, a Les Paul, even a deep set 10 on Les Paul, because it has this tongue here. The 58 does. The modern ones don't have that. Maybe if they're like a vintage reissue one does, but this is where a lot of your strength comes from, because your 22nd fret is like right there. So yeah, and then the neck joint comes all the way down through here, and then I don't know if you can see this line. There's the line where the pickup will eventually go. The 10-on comes up, gets a big chunk hogged out of it, and comes back up, and then is level with the top of the body there. So that's the Flying V, and this is for Vince Buckles, who is a buddy of ours and a buddy of Jim Fuller's. And so that is totally cool, because we are guitar makers to the gun makers. I don't know how that happened, but it's really, I think it's neat. I hope that was good enough, Jeffrey.
So here's a comment that I just saw. If you had a big order and a short time to get them done, a CNC would help with the body making process.
Absolutely.
Or they could just wait.
Or if it was a Telecaster, we could whoop up on that CNC machine all day long.
Yeah, there's some things.
Depends on how fast the CNC machine is.
Remember, we were talking with Doug Cower about this when he came out with his Titan guitar, and he said that it was, I don't remember what it was. It was right around 10 minutes to go from CNC, put the blank in to take the blank out. And I don't. So assuming it was a square that was 1 3/4 thick or something, and 10 minutes. And I'm like, man, I bet you we could come close to that in a John Henry kind of face off. Now, I don't know if we could sustain that. How long could we do that? Obviously his CNC machine could go for, however long it could go before it needs to, tool change and stuff like that. But yeah, Telecasters and his Titan guitar is one of those ones. It's all top route.
Yeah. And frankly, we don't have those kinds of orders. We don't make the same guitar over and over and over for weeks on end. We make 2 or 3 of something.
And if you talk to Doug, I don't think he does anymore either. I don't think that Titan was like something he needed to make millions of. And I think Grover Jackson made those necks for him too.
And
a
bunch of them.
So that'd be another way you could save time. You could have Grover Jackson make it all on his CNC.
And really, I mean, it's not all about, at the end of the day, it's not all about saving time. We've talked about that too. How fast do I need to do this?
Do we need to go? Yeah.
It's not, and really the woodwork is such a small part of the overall process, especially the rough woodwork of running it through, where you end up on a CNC, unless you have it turned all the way up. There's still a lot of work to be done.
I want a CNC orbital sander and a CNC wet sander and a CNC buffer.
I think you have like 3 grit sandpaper on the old man machine or something.
We have 50 grit sandpaper on the old man machine.
Yeah. And and really it's fun to see all that stuff come together and run it through. The pin router is super fun to use.
The shaper is super fun until it's not.
Well, yeah.
The pin router is really cool. I just like woodworking. So, if we had to make 100 times more guitars than we make a year, well, a lot of things would be different.
You never have to do anything you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's true. One of the things that, if you've ever seen some of those factories in Japan or China, there's some CNC machines, but there's also, it's a great big gigantic factory, and they have machines that are dedicated to one job. So they have a shaper that does nothing but cut the headstock treatment on the end, the little mustache thing, or they have, shapers that do this, or pin routers that do that. And wouldn't that be another cool way to go too, if you had unlimited space and unlimited power capability to just have a bunch of machines that did every single step one at a time, and you had separate pin routers that had different. Now, there's a big difference between a $120,000 Fadal CNC machine and a $6,000 CNC machine that you get at Woodcraft. Not trying to talk shit if anyone has a $6,000 CNC machine from Woodcraft. This is one of the things I'm gonna have to apologize. I already have to apologize to Doug Cower, because I think I said have Grover Jackson make it all for you. That was not a slam on Doug Cower.
Well, but yeah, if you, for the ultimate time savings,
you
don't have to do any of it. Go to Guitar Center and buy one.
Have them made in Korea. Yeah. So, I think it would be neat. You know what though? If we had a bunch of orders, like a great big order, how much would a great big order be? One thing, and if we had that, well, I probably wouldn't be doing it. You know what I mean? I'd have to be doing these videos all the time. Who's going to make the videos if I have a big order? Okay.
Maybe the Dunkin' Donuts guy could do
that Dunkin' Donuts guy answering emails. Okay, there's a bunch of questions here.
I know, and I want to apologize to everybody in YouTube land. I've had like the attention span of a goldfish all weekend, so if I skipped over you, I'm really sorry.
We knew this was going to be big, so if we haven't gotten to your question yet, we will. We'll get to everybody, I promise.
And Carl says there ain't no CNC for weenie rollering.
Weenie rolling.
There is not. We had a glue bot, which was not.
It was hardly a bot.
Yeah, it wasn't. There was no bot involved.
No.
In that. That was as close as we've got.
What else we got? Let's answer some questions.
Greg Folks said my girlfriend likes the way my ass moves when I use my pin router.
Do you call your pin router your beloved pin router, or is that one of those things where is that just me? What else we got?
I don't know. You see it too.
Well, I don't know, but I don't know how much we've missed. You know what I'm saying?
I know. That's why I'm back and you're current.
Yeah. Carl, if you had a 59V, you shouldn't have traded back in the day. That's a bummer, man.
Oh, Greg also says, I had a CNC router, but found it boring. Sold it and bought a pin router. I do have a laser engraver. It's fun to watch and catch things on fire.
Oh, nice.
I think a laser engraver would be cool.
I think it would be.
There would be things that we could do with that. And there's things we could do with the CNC that we don't necessarily do. It's one of those things, if we had one, we'd figure out things to do with it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Even if it wasn't the things that we do now with other tools.
I think that, like, especially for stuff like inlay, which I hate doing, something like a laser or a CNC would be, and it wouldn't have to be big if you were just doing inlay with it.
Yeah. We could do a lot of things with fretboards and headstocks. And
one of the things like Steve over at Maximum Guitars does this, and I know a lot of other guys do it. Probably some of y'all watching too, where they do the blind fret slot. That's really cool. And that'd be a great thing for laser or CNC to do. That'd be super neat.
Yeah, and catch things on fire. We could play flammable, inflammable.
What else we got? There was one here. Home hobby CNCs take more than 10 minutes. Yeah, you bet they do. 3 hours. Dang. I don't know of any body that we would make that would take collectively more than 3 hours to do. You know what I mean? With the way that we do stuff, like we'll get the necks set in and then we'll go back and put the body on the pin router, or we'll do, so yeah, it doesn't take 3 hours though. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Everything that we do, each step is 5 minutes
Yeah.
here, 10 minutes there.
Yeah. We have our own schedule, just like y'all do, the way we do stuff. And
Brad Coley was pondering a philosophical question.
Oh.
Was wondering if the Wancaster was hand carved. Get it?
I don't get it. You should see what Mrs. Texas Toast is looking at me like now.
You're pretty thick, but you're not fat.
So another thing, like I like to think about with CNCs, is there's CNCs and then there's CNCs. And if you imagine, like if I were going to go out and buy a CNC machine right now, it would not be the one that I would want to end up with. It would sort of be like if I said, I want to learn to drive race cars. Now I've, had a driver's license since 1985. But in terms of like my driving ability, I'm nowhere near of like, I'm not like Richard Petty all of a sudden, because I've been driving for 30 whatever years. So if I went to the racetrack, they wouldn't go, here's a $500,000 race car, Matt, go crazy. And I don't think it's the same kind of thing with CNC. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to decide, what is it that you want to do, and what is it that you like? And if what you like is building guitars, then yeah, you probably don't need a CNC machine. If what you like to do is build a lot of guitars in a hurry, then okay, maybe you do need a CNC machine. Or if what you like to do is program computers, then yeah, get a fucking, what do I care? I don't give a toss. But if what you like to do is, actually manipulate material with your hands and metal, and if you like twisted steel and sex appeal, then yeah, CNC might not be for you.
See, you're right back to the same thing. It's a lot like the guy saying you should take the Dremel challenge and build a guitar using nothing but a Dremel. And you're like, why would I want to do that? I got all these kick butt tools that cost me a bunch of money that I
really enjoy. And I really enjoy.
And finally, kind of mastered using them. Yeah. And I'm not going to take 3 steps back and start doing it with a chisel and a Dremel. Yeah. So,
okay.
So, well, Death by Humbuckers,
that's an awesome handle.
And totally poses the natural follow-up question to the topic at hand is, well, how many guitars do you make per year?
How many is it?
Does that say just out of interest, not buying? Oh, prying.
not buying.
So
I actually knew exactly what it said, but I came up with that little
I think,
joke.
It's different every year. A lot of the guitars that we make are buddy guitars too. So I don't think they count. Yeah. I would say it is not outside the realm of possibility for us to make 30 or 40 guitars a year. It's not many,
Yeah, that sounds.
Now, unless you consider like raw bodies, then we make more of those. So we just so happen to have these. We're starting this new thing. It's called Guitars That Don't Owe Us Anything. And we've got a couple of examples here. This is what, a 9-piece body that we glued together a bunch of our scraps and made a daily driver body out of. So I don't count these bodies that aren't going to actually, we'll sell the bodies, but we're not going to finish them out into guitars. So
this is more of a testament of how much you like running things through the tools, that you're willing to glue up a bunch of leftover wood and run it through this
is pretty cool. So what has it got? It's got poplar, alder, and a bunch of those. Like there's a bunch of glue ups here, and then there's a little piece of ash right down here, and another one
piece of ash.
I'll run right here. No, that's all poplar. And then what's this other one? If anyone's interested in the Guitars That Don't Owe Us Anything, we're actually selling them, so they'll owe you something.
Yeah.
And then there's this one here. So these are just a couple of the things that, we do when I'm supposed to be doing other things. By the way, for everyone who's watching who I have supposed to have been doing something for you, I actually did a lot of stuff this weekend. So if you are Adrian or if you are Alan and you're watching, we're getting really close, guys. I'll probably send those out next week. And if you're Scary Terry, your guitar's going out. And I can't remember the guy who wanted the gate mouth guitar, but that's gone too. So yeah. What else we got, Carrie?
Okay, so this is an off-topic question from Brad.
Okay.
And I have a question about the question.
Okay.
And it's Have y'all ever thought of trying the Lichtenberg process, given Chris's painting airbrush skills? I don't know what the
I don't either.
I'm going to say, yeah, we've done it.
Okay, yeah. Not only have we thought about it, we've done it.
I
don't know.
I don't know.
It's probably, I hope it's not something like,
because then it's something about airbrushing and it might make beautiful lightning flying V.
Oh, I don't know what it is. If you can give us some more, send us a link. What else we got?
So Mink says you can't feel that what the wood is doing with the CNC. Is it warping? Question, for example.
Actually, that's a really great thing. You know,
especially at altitude.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that. I do this all the time. I'm way on this side of the shop and like somebody's on the other end of the shop using the pin router and I hear something that sounds wrong. And I'm like, stop. That's too big of a cut. Something's wrong. And I guess if you're like at a great big factory, you can't do that. But if we had a CNC machine here, and I've seen it, you know, I've seen CNCs that, you know, shit goes wrong, tool bursts, or, you know, the thing comes out of the vacuum deal. It can happen. But I don't know how that's CNC versus, but I get what you mean. Yeah, there's, you can, the speed and feed of the tool is variable provided you're standing right there with it. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're pushing something through by hand, you can slow down or speed up based on feel and sound and using your senses to do it. If you're using CNC, all you got is you can't really feel what it's doing because the machine's actually moving the cutter bit or moving the piece through the cutter. You can dial it back during its feed rate. But yeah, again, you're standing right there. Well, you might as well use a pin, right? If you're gonna constantly be manipulating the speed and feed of the tool, you might as well use a pin router. But
yeah. Oh, and Carl brings up a good point that big factories can afford to waste.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, those guys probably cut up more guitars every day than we make every year. So.
Minx also said, I'm just imagining the cost of shipping to the UK. You have shipped to the UK, haven't you?
Oh, we shipped to Germany a couple times, and it was really expensive for us to ship and for them to get the thing out of
customs.
Yeah.
Especially when you're shipping anything made out of wood, there's bugs that you could introduce to this new environment.
Potentially, yeah. I want to say
ecosystem.
I want to say we shipped $100 piece of lumber. It wasn't even cut. Oh, maybe it was, and it cost the guy an extra $50-$60 just to get out of customs. I'm not sure.
And it was 85 in shipping.
Oh, wow.
I think.
It was a lot. Yeah.
And it was a pretty heavy piece of wood.
It was a beetle kill pine body. Yeah.
And I guess I was expecting it to cost more. So, oh, I lost it. I'm telling you, sorry guys, ADD all weekend. Carl says he'd like to find some submerged logs in the water around to make guitars from.
Like Shelby the Swamp Man?
We could never do that here.
We don't have very much water, yeah.
And then it would warp and twist and check. It would be terrible.
Okay, here, waste better than a small shot. I'm seeing something here. Lynchburg involves high voltage burning. You know what? I have seen those. That is cool. Wow, got killed. Yikes. But yeah, that is a really cool thing. I've seen it a couple of times. Do you need to take a break, Mrs. Texas Toast?
Yeah, if you have a problem with it, you can talk to my union steward.
Okay, yeah, whoever that is, we all know who that is. Let's read some of the questions. We can see on the screen here, so we might miss the spot where Carrie Ann was while she's away. Here's the Lichtenberg process is also called fractal wood burning. Have you seen that? You know what that is?
No.
It's pretty neat. Like they hook up electrodes to wood and it looks like lightning but it burns the material into. That's pretty cool. It's neat stuff. I have no idea how to do it, but
is it like the hot dog and the nail trick?
It's a lot like that.
Can I make my own that way?
I don't see why not.
Maybe do it with 220.
I don't see why not.
Done in half the time.
You know, we've got an electrician coming over in the next couple of weeks. Maybe we can ask him.
See if he can wire me up a box with a couple of nails on it and a switch.
Oh, we can make you a hot dog thing. That's easy. Yeah. Here's one. Goslin Creative. CNC would be attractive to me for fretboard slotting. I don't trust my math skills. Less chance to screw it up with a CNC if programmed right. Well, that's the big thing, is if it's programmed right. You know, there are a lot of reasons to use CNC for fret slots, and one of them was that blind fret slotting that I was talking about. But if you are using the if you're doing it all by hand and you're doing it all by eye, then it's really tricky and it's really hard to get it exactly right. We do not do that. We use fret slotting guides from a handful of different companies, to include StuMac, and they work so well. You got to go all the way through the piece, but it's possible to get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's possible to cut your finger off, but man, it's really hard to get it wrong. And if you aren't using a radial arm saw to do it like we are, it's really hard to cut your finger off. So yeah, you might want to check those out and see. We've done a bunch of videos too of us doing fret slotting with our fret slotting setup. If you haven't watched those, and I'm pretty sure you have. So yeah, let's I think, and the reason I say that is because I think you've commented on a couple of those. So, Sites has rules against rosewood. Yes, they do.
Cities has rules.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
How's that pronounced? Cities?
Oh, I thought it said cities. I can't read. I'm telling you.
Well, cities have rules against it too. Yeah, we don't really. We use very, very little rosewood anymore, unless somebody absolutely wants it. Rosewood and ebony are things we just don't really use very much.
Everyone gets a rash.
I do. Yeah, yeah.
It's really gross too.
High voltage woodwork. That would be so awesome. We will absolutely film high voltage woodwork if we do it. Yeah. So what else we got, Carrie Ann?
Mink says you could just use a spot welder for the burning.
You know, it's getting on about time to have a fire pit outside. There's a lot of guitars around that we could just burn. And then
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys get the high voltage from microwave transformers.
Wow.
To do the Lichtenberg technique.
I guess.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. It was like how I can cook a hot dog in this amount of time with a nail and a wire, or I can cook it in not much more with a microwave. Maybe I can just microwave the wood.
The one thing that would be neat is if we started doing that, I might not have to be the fabric top guy anymore. I could be the
hot dog guys.
The
electric, yeah, woodworking guys.
So,
yeah.
So we've got about 20 more minutes. Let's make sure we get everybody's questions in. And if we need to go a little over, we can. But if we don't have to, we won't.
Is there opinions? Because it's
absolutely it's an opinion
pointer
show.
Count.
Yes. So again, I don't really care on CNC, and you know what? No one else does either. Chris, what's your final word on
CNC versus
what's this final word?
Well, because so this is what we're going to do here is Chris and I are going to finish up our thoughts, and we're going to answer questions and tell people,
okay, just
announce their comments.
Just one more thing.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Weenie roller.
Oh, forget about it. Okay.
My final thought on CNC versus I don't know. I'm a lot like you. I like putting my hands on it and pushing it through the tool, and to me it feels like I've accomplished something more doing that than. And I know there's you have to do a lot of the same work with CNC.
Sure,
but I like the process of doing it with the tools that we do it, partially because of the old school thing. I'm an old school guy, so
yeah, it's cool to me, to talk to some of those guys who are in those old factories and doing it with pin routers and with hand routers and whatever else they had, and they're the neat ways that they came up with problem solving and
and and CNC, if I was around it more, I'd probably dig it, and that would be cool too.
It's absolutely like fascinating thing to.
Yeah, I would be up for learning about it and utilizing it in certain ways. I still can't see doing some of the things that we do with the CNC versus the way that we do them now.
Well, especially when you consider that it's not about saving time.
No, it's not. For big factories, it is, because they have 12 cutters that are all cutting bodies, and they're making stacks of Strat bodies. And
there's something cool to be said too for doing it the old school way, because you're letting a human do the job that a machine does in a big guitar factory. So there's no guys carving Les Paul tops at the Gibson factory. That's probably mostly done with CNC machines, even in the custom shop. The Paul Reed Smith, guitars, those are all done with, on the CNC machine, and they're exactly the same, and they're exactly perfect every time. I wonder if they're, what they don't call it a custom shop. They have what do they call theirs? The Paul Reed Smith Master Built or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know.
Maybe they do. I don't know. Here's my point. Paul Reed Smith is one of the biggest proponents of a CNC built guitar, and his guitars are absolutely beautiful and perfect in every way, it seems like. If Paul Reed Smith, the man, said that I did back in every single thing, we're going to use exactly the same stuff, exactly the same techniques, exactly the same tools. Have you ever seen his copy carver that they had for doing their the carve top on their old factory tour? Anyway, doesn't look like you know what I'm talking about.
Say it again. I was reading a comment.
Oh, Paul Reed Smith had this back in the old days. They had this great big copy carver that would do all the guitars.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of a CNC machine. He probably still has that somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's in the Paul Reed Smith Museum.
Uh-huh.
I would bet you that if he said, I'm going to make a 10 or a dozen guitars the old school way, it's going to be me doing them. How much do you suppose those guitars would be worth? But pre-sale, you would pre-sell all of them, I bet you. And I would bet you 50 grand.
Yeah,
$80,000. Yeah, it's a guitar made by Paul Reed Smith using all the old school stuff. Would it be just as cool if Paul Reed Smith said, "I'm doing everything," boop, and it went through and did all the CNC stuff, and he hand sanded it and then shot it with paint? I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I'd need to see pictures of me building my guitar. Yeah, I'd like to walk down the line with my guitar as it was being made. Yeah.
So right before you guys got all preachy on everybody,
that's usually what happens.
You made a comment about being the fabric top guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Russell Steele had said earlier, excuse me, my brother-in-law and I are using your videos to do our own fabric top.
Cool.
For a 60s set we're putting together. Thanks very much for these videos. Learning a lot and thinking about changing my career.
Wow. I hope you're thinking about changing your career to
guy that plays in a 60s band.
Not being a guitar maker. No. Well, you know what? That's real. What'd you say, Russell? Russell, thank you so much for your kind words, man. That's really neat. I hope that you will send me pictures of your guitars when you get them done. I hope they are loaded with paisley.
Yep. That's cool.
It's totally cool. What else we got?
I read something about a pantograph.
Pentagram, yeah.
No,
pentagram.
He was talking about, I think what he's talking about is a copy carver, and that Gibson used a copy carver.
Oh, I thought they were getting pagan on us.
No,
I don't think so. No. Not on Easter.
And
Easter.
I think they did, and I know they had a slack belt sander, and that slack belt sander looks like a lot of fun.
I would love
ruin some
to
guitar
have
bodies
space
really,
to do
really
a slack belt
fast.
sander.
Yeah.
The copy carver is a cool thing. Like I say,
and we have one.
You could probably automate a copy carver very easily. And that was probably one of the early. Did someone say, oh, here it is right here. Gibson used a pantograph the CNC back in the day. I think, I guess what you mean is they used to use, copy carvers and pantograph routers, and they were probably automated. And that's if you've ever seen two old school Gibsons from the same year, they're different. They're absolutely different. Some of those carve tops go whoop and come right back out, and some go and so they're all different. You could get a Monday morning Les Paul carve, or you could get a Friday afternoon one.
Death by Humbucker said, my kid walked in and immediately fell in love with that T-type behind you. Also, Weenie Roller.
These are the barbecue guitars. Chris brought these up. What's the deal? What's the caper with these?
I just wanted to show them off. They're super cool. Yeah, it's two guitars, daily driver, and a soul pole bass. And they're
Brett Hagen and I played these at the last Hawk Attack show. At a barbecue joint, nonetheless.
Yeah. And they're barbecue fabric, front and back, black binding. Translucent red sides, and they're really cool. They are cool. They don't get enough.
They don't get enough love. A lot of people don't like those because I don't know why, but I get a lot of hate from the about the barbecue guitars.
Yeah, and this one's got one pickup and a tone and a volume, and that's it.
Can we? Here's one
Doesn't
here.
even have a jack.
Can you do a T style with a carved top on a CNC? You bet.
Somebody asked earlier, and again, I'm just stupid today. Don't remember who, sorry, but wants to know where they could get one of those guitars that don't owe you anything.
You can send me an email, texastoastmatt@gmail.com.
Yep.
Joseph Caswell wants to know if you guys do weekend tours or you're actually off on the weekends. Don't laugh. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
Besides the casting on Sunday, he'd love to see the shop.
I would love to have you come see the shop. So here's something about the shop that not everyone knows. The shop is really only open on the weekend because I have a day job. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't take days off from the day job to work in the shop, but
or come home from the day job and go out into the shop.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we should probably we used to do this thing that we called buddy guitar night. And I think we could do like shop tour night almost. And that might be actually way more fun.
Shop tour night, shop tour 10 minutes.
Shop tour. Well, we could do it
like
I
laugh.
We could do it like shop tour night on like a Tuesday night. We could have pizza and beer. You know, if you want to come to the shop, you should start by coming to one of the meet and greets. And we've got one coming up at Flipside Music in Denver, Colorado, coming soon.
Are you local, Joseph Caswell?
I don't know. What else we got?
My God, you're so bossy. This is why nobody likes you.
Mm-hmm. I know that.
Would fabric work on an arch top like a Les Paul size guitar?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
As long as the curves aren't too drastic. Mm-hmm. I saw something about a guy that was going to do a fabric top on a motorcycle tank.
Oh, wow.
And unless it's got some fairly flat areas, it's going to get difficult.
I think that yeah, motorcycle tank would
probably thought that out
tricky.
Already. Yeah.
But a carved top like a Les Paul, I would think would be no sweat.
Yeah, we can get it to go around like forearm contour on
or the belly contour.
Yeah, both of those is no problem at all.
I bet you could do a Les Paul like it's nobody's business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We haven't done one yet, but only because we haven't done one yet.
Only because we haven't done one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Greg Folks is getting ready to do a fabric-covered Fat Boy gas tank for a custom bike builder.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Well, I would love to see how you do that, Greg.
Yeah. I'd like to see that too.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you hide that seam pretty good.
Or if you can't hide it, paint it red. That's what Old Fossil used to say.
Yeah.
Tell everyone who Old Fossil is.
Old Fossil is my great-grandfather, who I used to call Old Fossil.
He was shitty even when he was a toddler. So DSW Guitar says, okay, I'm an electric guy, but isn't the craftsmanship in the acoustic build?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why he doesn't do them.
Yeah, building an electric guitar is an 8th grade shop project. Building an electric guitar once is an 8th grade shop project. Doing it 200 times is another thing altogether. And doing something that someone is willing to pay for is a whole nother kettle of fish too. So yeah, building acoustics is it's not a completely different skill set, but it's a completely different you don't use different tools, you use more of them. You know what I mean? We have all the stuff to build acoustics here. And I have often thought if I ever wanted to make money making guitars, it would be making classical guitars, because those guys have bucks and are willing to throw them around. So yeah, electric guitar builders are broke. So are acoustic players, by the way.
I think it's just all your friends that play guitar are broke.
Especially all my friends, yeah.
Okay, so what did we miss here? So Carl Engstrom, I'm almost ready to take a weenie roller and paisley cloth to an old Mitz Galant I have.
You know what? Do it.
I did it to the Ying Ying.
The Yngwie guitar was one of the best fabric tops that we've ever done. And it was one of the simpler ones too. You know what I mean? Because there was no binding. It just got a burst, which when we started doing these, I thought I'm never going to do a burst on a fabric top. That's going to look dumb. And then I started doing it on everything.
Yeah, but you didn't do it stupid.
That's mostly Chris did it. So I didn't.
Leftover cerulean and magenta.
Once again, I was reading comments. I missed all of everything.
Stay with the group. Stay with the group.
Paying attention to what you're saying.
Sorry.
Yeah. But Chris is perfected the teeny burst, which I think is tits and beer.
Yeah, the doing a very, very small burst on a fabric top just to hide where the fabric stops and the paint starts is really where
just
it's
enough
at.
to hide the seam.
Yeah,
the edge.
Yeah, the problem that I have with the Fender ones is that it sags way into the body,
and it's always like the pink telly ones with that insane bright pink almost takes away from the insane.
It doesn't look right. Yeah,
paisley that's on there. Yeah,
here's one. You guys need fabric covered suits for the summer NIM. All of our suits are fabric.
I was
covered.
just thinking that they're all fabric, right?
I think we need barbecue suits.
I know. I want a pair of pants.
And at least pants and a vest, something.
Why don't you go back to say 1987 and buy some of those Musclehead Basement Boy workout?
Oh, those would be cool. What about like MC Hammer pants?
Dookie pants?
I don't know.
Those
MC Hammer was dookie.
Those aren't classy. I will not wear those. I will wear a tailored.
What if it's velvet? That's fucking classy.
Crushed velour. Joseph, keep an eye out for the Flipside event, and I'll post if you're. I think you and I are Facebook friends.
He's in Thornton.
Yeah, so I will post lots of stuff. So yeah, absolutely, make plans to come to that.
Someone's asked if you've done fabric top on a classic guitar. I don't know. Again, I have ADD terribly. A classical guitar.
No, we haven't done anything.
Did you show everybody the one with the F holes though? That was the thing.
I didn't have.
That telly body that we did with the lightning,
the hollow body with the flowers, the bubble,
the thin line.
We have done a thin line telly fabric top. That's right. I forgot about that.
If you put fabric on an acoustic guitar,
it's gonna.
You're probably gonna
kill the guitar. Yeah, it will. I don't. It's one of the few areas that I actually believe the whole finish and wood thing is in acoustics, because that's where the sound comes from. On an electric, it's the pickups, but on an acoustic, it's the top. And I've witnessed firsthand putting a really gummy, really horrible paint job on an acoustic guitar.
Oh, did you do a Krylon on?
I did a Krylon, and I put the Krylon on and played it for a little while, and then I stripped it off, and it was a garbage guitar to start with, and it still sounded better with no Krylon on the top. So if you add fabric to that, it'll just turn it into a
I see my spidey sense got me there. The camo guitar suits. That would absolutely be cool. What kind of camo would you want to see? Because I would want to see either Flecktarn or Musock or Eagle Globe and Anchor. Anyway.
Not that pixelated stuff.
Yeah. Especially the Marine Corps one with the little Eagle Globe and Anchor symbols in it. Not many people know.
Jungle.
That was on there.
Jungle camo.
Yeah, the old school jungle would be really cool.
Ooh, Joseph Caswell has an idea for a universal guitar that can be lefty or righty without reroute or changing hardware placement.
Well, okay.
How does that work?
I don't know.
He's going to put all the controls in the end or something like that, or remote control.
And it should be headless. All guitars should be headless and have a leather pickguard.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Is there anything? You know what? I would love to have a Zoot suit with a big chain.
You couldn't pull it off.
I know I totally couldn't pull it off. I would love to have it, but I couldn't pull it off.
This actually reminds me. Usually this time of year, I get to go to this thing called Viva Las Vegas. It's a big rockabilly festival in Las Vegas, and there is a performer there by the name of Pachuco Jose, who has the best Zoot suits, and he actually makes them himself. He goes out and finds the fabric and makes them, and they are insane. And I asked him at this party one year if he would let me borrow one, and he said yes, and I was all excited, but he never let me borrow his killer Zoot suit.
Oh, Joseph Caswell says apparently he just said roller nut, so I'm thinking that's the secret of the whole flip it, or you just kind of learn like Jimi Hendrix, I guess. I don't know. And Eric Terror is kind of picking a fight with me.
Oh, Eric, that's not a good idea.
Just because he's a Marine, I think he doesn't believe that I could drop his ass like a bag of potatoes. I'm just saying.
Eric, thank you for your service, by the way. Sample 5.
Sorry, I got off track there.
DSW Guitar says they don't think you could do a bad finish. That must have been early. It was early. It was in college, so it was about 80 years ago. And I sprayed it off the back deck of an apartment, but it was still terrible. So
How many people are watching, Carrie Ann?
Yo no sé.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You're not.
You know what? Never mind. I'll talk to you about this later because it'll be the third time I'm asking you. All right, 53 people are watching.
To be the third time I'm asking you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a few more minutes and we'll stay on as long as we need to answer everybody's questions, but I like to keep these at about an hour unless we've got a special guest. What?
I think we're all laughing at Easy There Boardwalk Barbie. You have no idea how right you are, dude.
That was fucking funny. Thank you for that. That was perfect. Hey, I happened to be on the boardwalk that day down the shore when Bon Jovi was filming that. What was it? In and Out of Love video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was the song they did.
Yeah, it totally was.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome.
So I hope that everyone's liking these podcasts. I think that not a lot of people are watching after the fact because they're long, and but I think everyone who watches them really digs them, and I hope that everyone who's tuning in and staying with us is liking it too. So yeah, thanks. I have a lot of fun with the podcast.
Yeah, I have a good time with them.
The best part about the podcast is this is just shit that Chris and I would talk about at the end of the day anyway.
Yeah, it really is.
We're just filming it.
Yeah, and yeah, it's fun, and I enjoy seeing what people are talking about. And yeah, somebody asked if we've ever done a Broncos fabric top.
No, but we could.
We could. Yeah, there's certainly lots of Broncos fabric.
The bad part about
just
doing
Broncos guitar,
doing a football or Star Wars guitar.
You like football? You like Star Wars?
The bad part about doing that is there's a lot of people who would think it's neat. There's not a lot of people willing to throw cash at it.
Right. Well, and in a lot of ways, I think some of those are you got to try and make something that's going to be cool in 10 years too. We've talked about the Jackson Nagel guitars, and I don't know too many people that are and I'm probably wrong, but the people that think those guitars are cool now were the people that thought they were cool then.
We're actually going to do a
whole bunch.
We're going to do a podcast about those guys. Remember we talked about like
those guys? Yeah.
Who plays those guitars? And I'm like, I don't know who they are, but let me describe them for you. We're gonna do a podcast.
Yeah. Well, I won't go into that, but at one time I think I was one of those guys.
Maybe.
In the 80s, and I was around then. I know it's hard to believe. but that was the new cool stuff was custom painted Playboy, Charvels and condom wrapper.
We had a guy
Jacksons
in here yesterday who wanted an inlay of some vagina thing on his fretboard. Yeah,
that's not cool today, and it's not going to be cool in 10 years.
No.
So anyway, so back to the you got to have something, and fabrics, and a lot of the it's like they almost become like gimmick guitars, and it's almost like looking at the fire bike from Orange County Chopper now. It's like it's kind of lame. So you want something that's going to stand the test of time, and I hope most of the fabrics that we've done,
I think that
are going to be that way.
Them absolutely will. Yeah,
some of them not.
I think Ike's is going to be a really cool one for a long time, and I think all the Paisley ones, anything that's just a pattern repeating is always neat. I think is classic enough. So.
Yeah.
So my new friend Eric suggests. Actually, he's from Egg Harbor, so he's giving, or I should say Egg Harbor.
Yeah.
So he's giving me some.
Where's Egg Harbor?
It's next to Little Egg Harbor.
I don't know.
Actually, Little Egg Harbor was just featured on one of my crime shows.
That sounds made up.
Getting murdered. No, there's not.
Egg Harbor is next to Little Egg Harbor.
I'm from Moonachie, and you're gonna say Egg Harbor sounds made up.
No, yeah. So where is it? Is it in New Jersey?
I think it's down near the shore. I don't know. There's a million.
The shore of what?
It's near Hamtown.
China Grove.
Down the shore.
Hamtown. Bacon Boulevard.
He suggests doing a Texas Toast shirt guitar, which I had the idea for quite some time, and I wanted to paint like breasts underneath
the wet
it
t-shirt guitar,
and make it a wet t-shirt guitar.
Oh,
and I thought that would be fabulous, and I got shot down.
I think
because
that
these guys don't like tits,
if you go through and read the blog post on Fabric Top Guitars, we allude to that about how white fabrics get see-through when you put sealer on them.
Yeah. Some of this too, you could do other things and to get to the same point. You know, if we wanted to do a Texas Toast logo, we could have the Texas Toast logo printed up, and we could sublimate it onto the shirt or onto the guitar, or we could you know, we could just stick the vinyl on it and do finish over that. And so
I don't know who would want that.
So people get all but that's a thing. I mean, it's a technique.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know who would want it either.
Yeah.
But sometimes people get all wound up about the fabric part. When really, there's other ways to achieve the same thing.
Absolutely,
easier.
There's a couple questions that I want to address, and one is Joel's about Patreon. But let's go back to the CNC versus old school machine tools. Somebody had something too about a Bridgeport, and I want to get back to that. But we had these shirts made that say vintage tool powered by evil, and Chris has one on right now. It's it's an old hot rod sticker that we stole and just changed it to Texas Toast. And our friend Paul Shalou actually came up with the term vintage tool. And I've always thought that sounded cool. But again, you know, no one really cares how the guitar is made except for, you know, me and Chris and some other people. But
there's a few people that care or that think
Brian
it's cool.
Thinks
they're not necessarily
Yeah. And you know what? For as neat as Doug Cower thinks that our pin router is, that's how neat I think his CNC machine is. Fair enough. So, yeah. So you asked Doug how cool my pin router is, and I'll tell you. Wait a minute, that doesn't work. Anyway, but we had these shirts made up, and vintage tool just sounds cool. And I've got, I guess the point I'm trying to make is I've got a brand new run of shirts coming. I just haven't. It's a whole thing. I've got shirts coming. So for all the Patreon members who are getting shirts, and everyone who wants to buy you can sign up for a month, you can sign up for a year, you can sign up for the rest of your life, and you can pay $1 or however much you want. It's a cool thing to do. And we are entirely viewer funded. That's why there's no commercials on the Texas Toast videos. Man, it has gotten nuts, dude. The number of commercials that I have to watch.
Yeah.
So every so often we'll have a commercial on one of our videos, and that's only if I'm using a song that's got copywritten material. I have permission to use the song by the artist, but it's copywritten by them. So YouTube monetizes that video and whatever, you know, third of a cent they get, that goes to them. So, and someone asked if they could turn their Bridgeport mill into a pin router. I don't see why not, but man, a Bridgeport is way more of a tool than the pin router is. It does so much more cool stuff. It moves in 2 axes. Well, it's kind of got 3. Anyway, yeah, I don't see why you couldn't. It's basically the pin router is basically a mill that has up and down capability. It doesn't have side to side or back and forth. So I hope I'm getting everyone's questions here. Carrie Ann is it looks like she's having a discussion with someone in J-Town.
That's not necessarily true. I had suggested the old 1970s Star Wars sheets on a guitar
with the pea stains.
I think people would like that.
I think they would too.
Give the people what they want.
Not with the pea stains.
Somebody asked earlier, I'm trying to see how he can make his shop bigger without moving, and
put everything on wheels.
Everything on wheels.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to constantly optimize the space in here, but it's just getting crazy. And please don't encourage this behavior around here. I would appreciate
and
that.
That was Ken. And yeah, I know what Ken's shop looks like. And Ken, if you don't have everything on wheels right now, put everything on wheels. That's all I got, man. Or like you said, if you don't want to move, put everything on wheels.
Everything's on wheels. It's all compact up against the wall. You need something, you just roll it out, push it back.
Or now option 2 is move into the garage and move the shop into the house. I think that every kitchen should have a table saw. Just me. That'd be another way to go.
Someone suggested sheet music. Sheet music.
Sheet music. Everybody talking about sheet music. Talk about
and weenie roller.
Weenie rolling. Chris isn't playing the weenie roller.
Oh,
Chris sucks.
Sheep music. I'm not sure what sheep music is.
I don't know.
Is that like Mary Had a Little Lamb? Is that considered sheep music? Okay.
Is Brad Coley from back east? So when he says Death Star guitar, would he really say Death Star guitar like y'all do?
Just stop.
Death Star guitar. Hey, let me ask you: you like football? You like Star Wars?
I have to get that now.
What?
Of course you do.
Wouldn't it be cool to get a Star Wars guy name on a football shirt? You could get Bobby Fett. You could get Paul Solo. You could get anybody. Oh, yeah, check it out. You could get a PC-30 and a Denver Bronco on a football. You could get it. It could be.
Get a Paul Solo shirt.
You could get a Paul Solo. You could get anybody you want. You could use your imagination. Dark Invader's not a real guy. Somebody had to make him up.
That guy up.
Yeah, yeah.
Bobby Fett.
You could get whoever you want.
Whoever you want.
All right.
Whatever team.
Bridgeport doesn't have the RPM for router bits. How fast will a Bridgeport go? Will it go 10,000? Because that's what my pin router goes. I think it will. All right.
Got to consult the manual.
Yeah, you'd have to consult your manual.
Yeah.
CNC? Wait a minute. Cool. Let me tell you a little bit of something. I did a bunch of woodwork on a Bridgeport mill. A lot of woodwork. And I upset someone very, very much several times by making a big mess in their shop, which we won't get into.
Because wood is way messier than hot aluminum or steel or something else. Yeah.
You can't tell us half the story.
I think you can tell you half the story.
At this point in the story, I need to tell you only half the story.
Yeah.
So Chris is right. CNC, cool. Vintage tool, cool. One
hand tool, if that's what you got, and you're enjoying yourself.
Are you making guitars?
Yeah. Use a spoke shave and a whittling knife.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't that long ago that you were using sanding blocks, radius sanding blocks to do your fretboards.
Yeah.
Not that long ago, a couple years at the most.
Yeah.
I think we're way closer to CNC than we are to hand tool at this point.
No, everything in here was available.
Well, that's
but what I mean is everything is. I mean, we use power tools for almost everything.
Well,
there was a time in this shop not that long ago that everything we had could have been procured at Home Depot.
Yeah, and you were cutting fret slots with a saw,
Stumac or Home Depot. Yeah.
And you were using handheld routers to do bodies and all of that. And now we have a lot bigger, more powerful tools, and we don't have to do as much by hand.
I think that the Dirty Knob's middle name is Danger. He said, yes, 10,000. I run my pin at 20,000.
That'll get the job done. Our pin router's only 10,000. So yeah. I don't know which
20,000.
I don't know which unit you have, but
I think it's a metric conversion is the deal. Yeah.
I was gonna say, is it cutting diamonds or something?
I don't know. Well, like I can't. That would be a loud fucking router. That's for sure.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, whatever. You whatever. You remember that song? Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm down on the shore and I'm talking to Kiki and she's like, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Was that the Ace Frehley?
It was the guy.
What am I thinking of?
I don't know. If you do a YouTube search for the whatever song, I know it anyway. So what else we got here? We got a few. We're past an hour and we're just wrapping up here. So it's so much fun to do this with you guys and have you guys tune in and have smart alecky comments and drink beers with them. I'm hoping everyone's drinking beers with us.
Weenie roller.
I hope everyone's weenie rolling and drinking beers with us.
You too, Chris.
Oh yeah, and I see. Are any of you all from Texas?
I lived in Texas for a long time. Chris,
you
were born in Oklahoma.
I was born in Oklahoma. Yeah. I might be more from Texas than you.
I think you are.
And then
I
lived in Texas. And then I moved to Colorado. Yep. So
yeah, I lived in Texas for quite a number of years. I was actually born in Rock Island, Illinois, though. So yeah.
Someone asked if we would ever consider relocating to Texas.
Well, we have considered relocating to Texas.
Fell in love with the house and everything.
Yeah,
there was a sweet deal that fell apart.
Yeah,
and then Bobby got kicked out of Texas.
Bobby, our dog, got kicked out of Texas.
He's like Ozzy.
Yeah.
Band from Texas. That's his next LP.
A 3 horsepower single phase. Okay, cool. Yeah. Thumb up if you ain't before it's over. I don't know what that means, but thumbs up to you too, Brad. I can't really drink beer anymore. I've been drinking a Newcastle. You know, I used to love Newcastle. We used to go down to Governor's Park before they closed and before they became like a hipster bar, and we get Guinness and Newcastle, and I mean, that was good.
Back when they had the comedy club before the pool.
It was back when they didn't even have that room.
Oh,
that was it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I used to make my rent over there.
Mm-hmm. Me and Tom Savercool used to go over there.
Yeah.
Yep. Back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
we would split our time between the casual lounge and Governor's Park.
And the casual
lounge.
Looks the little hole in the wall.
You know the
Yeah,
casual
the
lounge.
casual lounge, yeah.
It hasn't changed since 1987.
Yeah, and Governor's Park is long gone, but the casual lounge is still going strong.
Oh, Greg's pin router runs at 2,000 RPM, and he's drinking rum.
Nice.
Jeez.
Who's drinking Red Stripe? It's beer. Eric Terra.
I drank rum, last Saturday? You had to come pick me up.
Were you? Yeah.
Yeah. I was DRUNJ.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up, everybody. Thanks for watching the Texas Toast Live podcast, CNC versus Old School Tools. I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in, everyone who is going to watch in the future. I'd like to thank all of our Patreon members and everyone who's thinking about becoming a Patreon member. Why don't you go ahead and thus start, doing that now? I'd like to thank Chris. And of course, I would like to thank my lovely and talented wife, Mrs. Texas Toast, for putting up with me and helping out with the podcast as much as she does. Let's see. If you guys like this, give us the thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button now? And if you hit the little bell icon, you'll know about all the other stuff that we'll have coming up, because I do these, we post these all the time, and we try to do a live thing every Sunday afternoon, Mountain Time. Gosh, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and like and share as many places as you can. That really helps us grow the channel. You got anything else, Chris?
If you want any of these things, hit Matt up and we'll ship them out to you.
How much are we selling the guitars that don't notice anything?
$100.
$100
plus shipping. Depending on where you are.
Right on.
Hey.
Okay.
I got boxes waiting.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
So life is short. You might as well have a cool guitar. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Oh, I should be